If you're like most people, you don't know some of the things that happened in your birth year. Sure, some of these things might be ancient history, some might bring back fond memories, good or bad, and some you might find surprisingly relevant today. For those of you watching, born in 1986, congratulations, you're turning 40. Sit back and relax, and let's review 20 forgotten events that made life in America. Be sure to stick around for the last one because your family might have pulled this car into the driveway. A new holiday. On January 20th, America officially observed Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a federal holiday for the first time. After years of campaigning by civil rights activists, including a petition with 6 million signatures, the holiday was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan in 1983. Not every state observed it, some held out well over a decade, but the federal recognition was a milestone. Ceremonies were held across the country honoring the civil rights leader who had been assassinated in 1968. Across the country, people marched, held memorial services, and reflected on King's legacy. The holiday was a long-fought victory for those who believed the nation should honor Dr. King's legacy of peace and equality.
My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
We are the champions. On January 26th, the Chicago Bears demolished the New England Patriots 46-10 in Super Bowl 20, capping off one of the most dominant seasons in NFL history. Their legendary The Monsters of the Midway defense was led by Mike Singletary and William the Fridge Perry. The Boston Celtics beat the Houston Rockets in 6 games to win the NBA Finals, with Larry Bird winning Finals MVP. Many still consider that '86 Celtics squad one of the greatest teams ever assembled. The New York Mets gave fans an unforgivable World Series against the Boston Red Sox, complete with Bill Buckner's infamous error in Game 6. The Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup in May, beating the Calgary Flames in 5 games behind rookie goaltender Patrick Roy, and Louisville won the NCAA basketball title over Duke on March 31st.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag, it gets through Buckner, here comes Knight and the Mets win it!
Challenger. If you are a Gen Xer, you might remember watching this tragedy in school. January 28th became one of the darkest days in American history. At 11:38 a.m., the Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off from Cape Canaveral. 73 seconds later, it broke apart in the sky. All 7 crew members were killed. Among them was Krista McAuliffe, a high school teacher from New Hampshire who was supposed to become the first ordinary citizen in space. Schools across the country witnessed the event live on TV. The investigation revealed that cold weather had caused an O-ring seal in one of the rocket boosters to fail. President Reagan postponed his scheduled State of the Union address that evening and instead spoke to a grieving nation. The disaster led to a 32-month suspension of the shuttle program and a complete overhaul of NASA's safety procedures.
From Mission Control, silence.
Cola Wars. Are you Team Coke or Team Pepsi? After a new Coke debacle of 1985, the Cola Wars heated up again. Pepsi Cola ran its iconic Pepsi Generation commercials during Super Bowl 20, featuring Michael J. Fox. Coca-Cola Classic was outselling New Coke, proving that customers wanted the original taste. Cherry Coke was launched nationally after regional success, offering fans a sweet twist on the classic formula. The soft drink battles of the 80s were intense, and both companies poured millions into advertising, celebrity endorsements, and sponsorships to win over taste buds. Halley's Comet. The most famous comet in history made its once-in-a-lifetime appearance. Did you get a chance to see it? Halley's Comet, which only swings by Earth every 75 years, was visible from February through April. People around the world stayed up late, drove out to dark fields, and squinted at the sky. Honestly, it was kind of underwhelming. Light pollution and the comet's position made it hard to see with the naked eye, and many folks felt let down. Still, if you saw it, you won't get another chance until 2061. So everyone who's Gen X and younger, mark your calendars.
Is it just that fuzzy thing in the middle?
That's it.
Just that fuzzy thing.
The only thing there.
Sorry about that, but that's all there is.
Oscars. The Academy Awards on March 24th celebrated films that moved audiences deeply. Out of Africa swept the show with 7 Oscars, including Best Picture. The film starred Meryl Streep and Robert Redford in a sweeping romance set in colonial Kenya. The Color Purple received 11 nominations but went home empty-handed, one of the biggest snubs in Oscar history. Geraldine Page finally won Best Actress for The Trip to Bountiful after 8 previous nominations, and William Hurt took home Best Actor for Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
The winner is William Hurt.
Geraldo. Have you ever heard someone talk so much hype only to be let down? On April 21st, over 30 million Americans tuned in to watch Geraldo Rivera open a sealed vault once owned by gangster Al Capone. The 2-hour live special, The Mystery of Al Capone's Vaults, was one of the most watched syndicated programs in television history. The build-up promised treasure, bodies, or at least something exciting, right? What did they find? Spoiler alert, nothing. Just some empty bottles and dirt. The anticlimax was legendary. Geraldo became the butt of jokes and was mocked for overhyped disappointments. He took it in stride and continued his career undeterred.
Disappointment, of course, John, but it's been a terrific adventure, and I wouldn't have passed it up for anything.
Disaster. The world's worst nuclear disaster happened on April 26th at the Chernobyl power plant in Soviet Ukraine. A reactor exploded during a safety test, sending radioactive material across Europe. The Soviet government initially tried to cover it up, but Swedish scientists detected the radiation and demanded answers. Over 350,000 people were eventually evacuated from the surrounding area. The disaster immediately killed 31 people and caused countless cases of radiation sickness and cancer. The region still remains uninhabitable today. While this happened overseas, Americans watched nervously, and the disaster shaped our opinion about nuclear power for decades.
But as the Soviets treat an unknown number of casualties, there's no way to say how much lasting damage that cloud may have already caused.
Let's hold hands. Americans were optimistic in the 80s, and we thought we could solve any problem. On May 25th, Americans tried to literally hold hands from coast to coast. The idea was simple: form a human chain from New York to California to raise money for hunger and homelessness. About 6.5 million people participated, paying $10 each for their spot in line. Celebrities showed up, even Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy held hands in the chain. Though there were gaps in less populated areas, the symbolism was powerful. The event only netted about $15 million for charity, far less than organizers had hoped, but it became a defining image of 80s idealism. Classics and blockbusters. Hollywood delivered some classics. Top Gun was the year's biggest hit, making Tom Cruise a superstar and inspiring a generation of kids to become fighter pilots. The soundtrack was inescapable. Ferris Bueller's Day Off became an instant classic, and everyone loved repeating the line, "Bueller, Bueller!" Aliens proved sequels could be as good as originals. Stand By Me gave us a coming-of-age story that still hits hard, and Platoon brought the Vietnam War to the screen in a way that earned Oliver Stone an Oscar for Best Picture.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Lady Liberty's Big Party. On July 4th, America threw the biggest birthday party the country had ever seen. The Statue of Liberty celebrated her 100th anniversary after a massive $87 million restoration. She deserved to be cleaned up, and she was closed for 2 years leading up to July 4th. Workers had replaced her torch, reinforced her iron framework, and cleaned 99 years of grime off her copper skin. Ronald Reagan presided over the relighting ceremony, and fireworks lit up New York Harbor in a display watched by millions. The celebration included a parade of clipper ships, concerts, and festivities that lasted for days. If you visited the statue that summer, the lines were brutal. New shows. In the fall, the Oprah Winfrey Show went national after being a hit in Chicago, and Oprah became the most powerful person in daytime TV. Alf introduced America to a wisecracking alien who had an appetite for cats. LA Law gave us a smart, stylish look at life inside a law firm. Matlock, starring Andy Griffith, had viewers glued to their seats as he solved cases with Southern charm. And over on NBC, The Cosby Show was still the #1 show in America, followed by Family Ties and Cheers.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning.
Nintendo takes over. On September 27th, the Nintendo Entertainment System finally launched nationwide after a successful test run in New York City the previous year. If you grew up in the 80s, you remember blowing into those gray cartridges and the satisfying click when you pushed them down. Super Mario Bros. Had kids glued to the TV for hours, hurtling through obstacles and stomping on Goombas. Duck Hunt came bundled with an orange zapper gun, and we all tried shooting that annoying dog when he laughed at us for missing. We punch and kick our way through endless hordes of bad guys in Kung Fu. You knew The Legend of Zelda was special in that golden cartridge, which introduced us to Link and the Kingdom of Hyrule. These games and the NES revived the gaming industry that had nearly collapsed just a few years earlier.
Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power.
Scandal in Washington. In November, the Iran Contra affair exploded into public view, becoming the biggest political scandal of the Reagan administration. Despite an arms embargo, a Lebanese magazine revealed that the US had been secretly selling weapons to Iran. The proceeds from these sales were being funneled to the Contras, a rebel group in Nicaragua, which contradicted Reagan's public stance on dealing with terrorists. Attorney General Edwin Meese revealed all the details in a press conference. National Security Advisor John Poindexter resigned. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, who ran the covert operation, was fired. North and his secretary, Fawn Hall, had shredded documents to cover their tracks. The congressional hearings the following year made North famous, especially the image of him taking the oath to tell the truth, dressed in his metal-covered Marine uniform. North was convicted, but had his convictions overturned on appeal. Reagan survived politically, but Iran Contra left a permanent stain.
I did not know about it, and I did not know, and I'm still waiting to know, where did that money go?
Iron Mike. On November 22nd, a 20-year-old young man from Brooklyn became the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. Mike Tyson knocked out Trevor Berbick in the second round to claim the WBC title. He was devastating, terrifying, and impossible to look away from. Tyson had only been a professional for 2 years, but he'd already mowed through 27 opponents. The sports world had never seen anything quite like him. Over the next few years, he would unify all the heavyweight belts and become one of the greatest boxers ever.
That uppercut is Tyson. Catches him with a right left hook, and he goes down. He goes down. He should be able to get up from this. His legs may be shut down.
Hit songs. The radio was packed with hits all year long. Janet Jackson's Control album dropped on February 4th and announced her arrival as a solo superstar. Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer showed off groundbreaking music video animation. That's What Friends Are For by Dionne Warwick and Friends spent 4 weeks at #1 and raised millions for AIDS research. Whitney Houston dominated with Greatest Love of All and How Will I Know. Bon Jovi gave us summer classics Livin' on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name. Run DMC's collaboration with Aerosmith on Walk This Way was a perfect mashup of rap and rock. Madonna released Papa Don't Preach and Live to Tell, and the Bangles closed out the year with Walk Like an Egyptian, which stayed at #1 into 1987. Reform. On November 6th, President Reagan signed the Immigration Reform and Control Act into law. The legislation offered amnesty to approximately 3 million undocumented immigrants who had lived in the United States since before 1982. It also established penalties for employers who knowingly hired undocumented workers. The bill represented a compromise between those who wanted stricter enforcement and those who sought a pathway for longtime residents. It was the most significant immigration reform in 2 decades and remains a point of reference in political debates about immigration policy to this day.
Preciado and his wife appear to qualify for legal residence, amnesty for those who've lived here since January 1982. For the family, a happy prospect.
Bestsellers. Coming in as the number 5 best-selling car of the year was the Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. Known for its smooth ride and practical design, it was a family favorite. The Honda Accord continued its rise, earning praise for reliability and fuel economy. The Chevrolet Cavalier was a top pick for first-time car buyers looking for affordability. The Ford Escort remained popular with commuters who wanted something dependable without breaking the bank. Coming in at number 1, America's favorite truck, the Ford F-Series, continued its reign as the best-selling vehicle in the country, offering the toughness and versatility that blue-collar Americans loved.
You may not know me, but you know my name. I'm the old they call Cutlass Sierra.
There you have it. If you enjoyed this video, watch another one. Watch our video about 1985.